Hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with probably the most exciting part of my library collection tour, which is my absolutes. So by absolutes, talking about absolutes, definitive editions, any oversized deluxe editions that are the same size as an absolute or that have slipcases, all that sort of stuff. I've got a pretty good collection, but a lot of gaps, and it'd be interesting knowing your thoughts. So without any further ado, let's get into it.
Alright, and we are back once again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where the magic happens. Welcome to the library. We've done a fair amount of this now. And today is the one I know a lot of people have been looking forward to. Today we're going to talk about the absolutes. So, in terms of the absolutes, first things first, I have it here on a set of Kallaxes. This is a 4x4 unit. In fact, it's two 2x4 units I've just put together. The reason I didn't get one giant 4x4 is because this allows me the utility of rearranging them and breaking them up if I need to. So this is the back side of my absolute collection. If you don't know what absolute format is, then Google it or watch one of my other videos. But in terms of this, these are my sort of super large, super expanded comics. This is the rear side of them. Only showing you because obviously they look quite colourful, look quite interesting. And my Sin Cities, which we will talk about a fair bit later on, have the titles here, which is kind of cool and kind of smooth. The one thing I'll point out is that when you put them like this, and part of the reason I have it accessible on both sides like this, is to break up the room, but also to double up my storage, and I will show you what I mean by that. So if we look here, for example, where the Transmetropolitan is, it's there, and if I go around, it's got a bit of space there. Now if I wanted to, what I could do is move it like so. There we go. So I can move it here so it's flush with the front. What that means is I have this space at the back. And the question then is, if I wanted to double stack my comics so they're accessible from both sides, what can I put here? Well, here's another absolute edition. That definitely does not work. Here is an omnibus. This is the Spider-Man Miles Morales omnibus. And again, you'll see it hangs over. So it also doesn't quite work. Now this is what a standard size hardcover looks like. So you'll see here, that does pretty much work. It hangs over by a couple of millimeters, but not very much at all. In other words, I'm just going to pan back here, guys. What this highlights is that if you want to, what you can do, if you have a room divider sort of setup like the way I have here, you can use that space at the back. Rather than just having one set of comics, you could actually double them up. And like I say, as you can see here, this means that I have potentially a huge amount of room to expand my collection in the future. Okay, so with that out of the way, the final thing I just want to touch on before I dive into the comics is this. What is this, you're probably wondering? This is a dehumidifier. If you're the sort of person who's at all conscious or wary of your comics getting warped or wrinkled or damaged with moisture, you want to get one of these. This is a plastic thing, and you put in a dehydration block, and then over the course of like a month or so, it soaks up all ambient moisture in the air. So from people breathing or from just any ambient moisture in general, it keeps the room nice and dry. Here we've got quite a lot of liquid in it, but I haven't changed this in about 2 months. And as you can imagine, this particular room is, well, the door's locked most of the time. So it hardly gets a lot of people in it breathing and messing it up. So, let's dive into the absolutes. Well, before we go any further, let's start here with this lovely little box set. I don't know if anyone here has seen this. I'm sure you have. I'm pretty sure both Nearmint Commission and Gemmit Collectibles have done overviews of this. This is the Civil War hardcover box set. If you do buy this, a lot of people complain that it's hard to get the comics out. It's not at all. What you need to do is just remove the little polystyrene bit at the top that you're meant to remove so you can use them normally. Lovely image, lovely setup. Contains the entire Civil War series, which I've read almost all of it and I enjoyed all of it. Part of me regrets buying this in that I would have preferred, I think, to have the oversized hardcovers which they released. but those are all individually whales. Like each one is a couple of £100. Whereas this entire box set, when I bought it, was I think £200. So it was either buy this or buy one of the 6 oversized hardcovers I would need to contain the same material. So this is a question. This is a question of what format do you want it in, and in my case, I decided to compromise, and I decided to get it in the box format rather than my preferred OHC format. So this is the money shot, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I keep my Absolute editions, and what I'll do, I'll talk you through them. This is not a comic. This is Sin City. So, probably worth mentioning this. I mean, it's come up a few times on some chats and messages of people who have shot me. Basically, Sin City is available as an omnibus. It's also available in the normal paperbacks and a couple of hardcovers and stuff. But Dark Horse, about 10 years ago, did a set of limited edition library editions of this in 2 massive slipcases. I picked them up really cheap off eBay without the slipcases. And so I had my own slipcases made, which are these. And instead of having 2 slipcases to hold 8 volumes, I actually had 8 separate slipcases made. And the slipcases themselves, as you can see, have the writing over them sort of laid in like that. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I have a separate video talking about that in entirety, but I'm very, very proud of that. I very much like it. Designed the whole thing myself. And Sin City is highly recommended. All right, let's get into it. What do we have next? We have Batman, Hush, Absolute Hush. It's amazing. Superman for Tomorrow. Well, the artwork's amazing. I remember very little of the story, but the artwork's amazing. Absolute Flashpoint, you guys know that I'm a New 52 fan, and Flashpoint's a great story with great artwork. Then I've got Absolute Black Mirror. The Black Mirror is highly recommended. Just before the New 52, it's Scott Snyder, and it is just an excellent story all round. Ironically, it hasn't got Bruce Wayne as Batman, it's got Dick Grayson, but it's really, really good. And understandably, it's very well regarded. Then what I have here is Absolute Luthor Joker, which is a 2-volume thing. Hang on, I'll go on the other side and I'll show you now. Right, can you see that? So there's actually 2 volumes in that Absolute edition. The reason that I picked this up is, well, one is out of print, so it's always worth getting. I did have it as standard size hardcover, so I've been meaning to pick up the Absolute for a while. And then I read Batman Damned, which is apparently the 3rd in this series by Azzarello and Bermejo. And it's terrible. It's objectively one of the worst comics I've read in my entire life. And I was really, really worried that they were going to run out and make an Absolute edition combining all 3. And as a result, I really don't want that in my collection. So I made an effort to track this down sooner rather than later. All right, hang on, let me go back around to where I was. Okay, then we have All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman is really good. Like, people rave on about how it's the best Superman story ever. I don't believe that's the case. Personally, I just think it's good. When I first read it, and I read it as it came out in single issues, I thought it was just pretty average, actually. But it's one of those things, like a lot of Grant Morrison, the more you read it, the more you understand more about comics, the more you understand the depth and the intelligence of what he's doing, the more you like it. As a result, I like it, but I don't love it. But I like it enough to get an Absolute edition. Then there's a great book here called Anatomy of a Metahuman. I was kind of baited into getting that by Gio from the channel A Week in Geekdom. He did a great overview of it, and as a result, I just had to just run out and get that. It's not an Absolute edition, but it is obviously an oversized format, the same size as them, although it's actually a little bit wider. Then I've got Absolute All-Star Batman and Robin by Frank Miller. Now, this is a universally reviled series. I love it. I love the artwork, and I actually quite like the writing as well. One day I'm going to do a video called Unpopular Comics It's Okay to Like, where I'll basically highlight the reasons that I have this in my collection and why I like it. It's one of those things where it's fashionable to just bag on it and just say, oh, it's terrible. The same way people like to complain about Bendis as if he's never done anything good in his life, or the same way people like to complain about all sorts of things just because it's fashionable to complain about them. All-Star Batman and Robin definitely has its flaws, and if someone hates it, I absolutely get that, and I can totally see why. I wouldn't really defend it to you if you don't like it. However, I do like it, and it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's like, it's got good artwork, and there are certain elements of the writing, although it's ridiculous and over the top, and I can see why it's taken badly, I quite enjoy. So maybe a video for another time. Then getting in here, we've got a couple of bits and pieces. Essentially, this is my Wildstorm era, so I've got Absolute Authority Volume 1 and 2. This is back before DC republished them. So this is the Absolute Authority format.
And then Absolutely Planetary, again by Wildstorm before DC took that over. So in terms of this, they're available as omnibuses, but Absolutes are definitely my preferred format. I think I prefer Absolutes to omnibuses and oversized hardcovers to omnibuses, but Absolutes are my favourite format. Just the size, just the quality, just the slipcase, of course. Absolute Planetary, like I say, the omnibus contains everything in those two Absolute editions, plus this crossover here, which is Batman Planetary. That's also in the omnibus. Whereas the omnibus of Absolute Authority, or even the reprints of the Absolutes, from what I recall, do include a couple more issues than the one here. There were a few that weren't included in the versions that I have. However, I picked those up and read them separately, and I'm happy not to have those because they're 2 or 3 issues out the set when the entire lineup changed for a couple of months under the authorship of Mark Millar. And actually, it reads perfectly the way it is, and I don't really think there's anything lost in these 2 collections by not having those extra orphaned issues. A couple of videos ago, I did show my Wildstorm collection of just trade paperbacks, and I think at one point I may or may not make some Absolute Stormwatch. I haven't read enough Stormwatch to really know if that's what I want to do, but at some point I think maybe that would be a good idea, and if so, I think it'd be kind of cool to have an Absolute Wildstorm era all the way across here, which would be awesome. So like Stormwatch Team Achilles, Stormwatch Post-Human Division, Absolute Mr. Majestic, which I have read and is excellent. Then what we have here is Absolute Scarlet by Brian Michael Bendis. Scarlet is good, and I'm glad they did an Absolute of it, basically. Alright, let's step back, let's move across, and let's move down. Oh. Filming these is not good for my knees. Okay, first things first, let's move Transmetropolitan back to where it should go. Right. Okay, what do I have here? I have the 2 Spawn Deluxes. Now, people refer to these as the deluxe editions or the special editions. Essentially, the absolute size. And these complete collections, there's 4 of them. I don't have the first 2 for 2 reasons. One, they're incredibly expensive, like the whaliest of whales. And also, the first 2 contain the first 50 issues. And the first 50 issues is when Todd McFarlane's still finding his feet. The artwork's not... Whilst it's iconic, it's not my cup of tea. The colouring, whilst it's iconic, is not my cup of tea. And the storyline feels like it meanders a little bit too much. Whereas suddenly from issue, say, 48 or so, it suddenly changes balance and cadence and becomes a much stronger series. And what we have here is Spawn 3 and 4, which are issues 51 to 100. I've actually read up to about 130. And I actually have I have almost all 300 issues, and I have all the spin-offs. So I need to do a big read through of the Spawn universe and work out if I want to get anything sort of custom made into my own omnibus or custom bound or anything like that. But yeah, Spawn. Over here we have Transmetropolitan, volumes 1, 2, and 3 as the Absolute editions. I'm just going to have to move because my knees hurt. Give me a sec. And we're back. So this is The Walking Dead. There's actually only 8 sort of complete collections, deluxe collections of these. I have volumes 1, 5, 7, and 8 because I buy them in whenever I see them on sale, basically. So I have 4 out of the 8 potential volumes. Once I have all 8 of them, I think they'll fit perfectly here in the Kallax. So that'll be great. I haven't read these. I haven't read a single one of these. Never had one lesson. Okay, moving over here. Elephant Man. So this is my Elephant Man Kallax Cube. Elephant Man is one of the most underrated comic series I have ever seen. It's incredible. The artwork is amazing, the writing is amazing, the themes and what it considers, and just the narrative and just the drama and the tension and the humour and the romance and the sexiness and the sci-fi and the creativeness. It is one of the best series ever made. And yeah, it's massively underrated to the extent that whilst these 7 volumes were released, they then never released any more hardcovers. They then sort of rebooted it as Elephant Man 2260 as these 6 soft covers, and now it's gone to digital only, which is heartbreaking. So I'm planning on getting 2260, so these soft covers here, custom bound into probably volumes 7 and 8. And then I don't know what I'm going to do about the digital ones, to be honest. It's really frustrating because I absolutely adore this series. I cannot believe other people don't talk about it. I can't believe other people don't rave about how good it is. I know this is 1, 2, 3, 0, 4, 5, 6, but as you've probably gathered from my
my series so far, I tend to do things by reading order rather than chronological order or release order. So here you should read volumes 1, 2, 3, and then actually volume 0 came out. And volume 0 you should read between reading volume 3 and 4. So yeah, this is all of Elephant Men. And then here, just this one thing on the side here, we've got Battle Chasers by Joe Madeira and the Image Cliffhanger imprint. This is a deluxe slipcase, ribbon bound, absolute edition. Very hard to find, very much a whale, but I have one. Alright, and then moving over to the final one on this row, we've got Absolute Justice, which is excellent. What we have here next is Absolute Batman Incorporated, but this is one that I made myself. Hang on, I'll show it to you.
So you're going to have to deal with the glare. This is just where I'm sitting. But basically, this is an omnibus-sized dust jacket that I made myself. So I designed this, I wrote this. If you see here, it talks about this is a an oversized dust jacket edition. It's a custom binding, formatted with extra bonus material, streamlined content. By streamlined content, I basically threw away several of the issues. So then we have the end pages here. I got a ribbon bookmark made for it, which was nice. The comic is, well, it's the comic, so absolute size. And then this is what I had as the back. Damien with Bat Cow. If you don't know what Bat Cow is, read the comic, it's great. And then this is the back page. Let Fall the House of Wayne. If you've seen my dust jackets before, you'll know this is exactly the sort of design that I love to do. So what is this and why did I do it? Well, basically, I have Batman Incorporated in my New 52 collection, and that's fine. I don't need it as an absolute. But I found this as an absolute on sale because the dust jacket, not the dust jacket, the slipcase for it was really badly damaged, and so they're selling this at an absolute steal. So I picked it up. And the thing about Batman Incorporated, there's the volumes that are in the New 52, but then some of those issues are just garbage, to be honest, and just filler. And then there's the volume that's before the New 52, where most of it is garbage and filler. So what I did in this, it's just kind of an experiment, is I basically took those issues and I threw out all the rubbish ones. So with the first volume of Batman, Batman Incorporated, what I did was I got rid of every issue barring issue 6, as I recall. And then I included Leviathan Strikes. And then the second volume, I got rid of issue 11 and 14, and I think I got rid of issue 0 as well. Just because they were just rubbish, garbage issues, like written by other people, drawn by other people, I added nothing to the narrative. And so I ended up making a much slimmer version, obviously without a slipcase because the slipcase had been really badly damaged. And then I had a dust jacket made. And under the dust jacket, I used the previous slipcase cover to make this. Batman is everywhere. And then you'll see here, it's been bound here with some buckram. I don't really care about the spine because the spine's going to be covered. But yeah, this is... I forgot to show you guys this. I don't think I have a video on this on my channel. But this is the sort of stuff that I do. Alright, let me put that back. Okay, and we're back. Next I've got Absolute Dark Knight, which contains Dark Knight 1 and Dark Knight 2. So that's Dark Knight Strikes Back and Dark Knight Strikes Again. I love both of those. I know DK2 is not very popular at all, but they're both, in my opinion, very good, and I dislike DK3, so I'm happy with that Absolute. I've then got an Absolute Supergirl that I had made. I'm not going to show you guys that right now because this video's already gone for over 20 minutes. I've got a lot to cover. I've got Absolute Batman and Robin, Batman Reborn there. That one without any words on it is Absolute Kingdom Come, and then after that is Absolute Identity Crisis. Okay, moving down. We have The Boys. So these are the definitive issues of The Boys. So ribbons, slipcases, huge absolute size format. They're great. I know that they're whales, and if you can't find them, then yeah, sorry guys. I was quite lucky because volume 4 is the biggest whale of them all and really hard to find. And again, I happened to be in the local comic shop and I saw it in their bargain bin at half price in brand new condition. So it was a case of definitely picking that up. Okay, let me just move along. Okay, what we have here is Low by Rick Remender. Now,
this is a brilliant series with brilliant art, really good writing. Two things about the series annoy me. One, it doesn't come in a slipcase, even though it's absolute sized, which is annoying. It means I'm going to have to get a slipcase made if I want one. Look at that. Just pages just roar to the air like a barbarian. Why? And then the second thing is this is volume 1, and this contains issues 1 to 15, but I think there's only 7 more issues, and now he's finished the series. So volume 2 is either never going to come out like this, or it's going to look stupid. So I might have to get the whole thing rebound as like one massive absolute sized thing, but then I need to do that before I get a slipcase made, because anyway, it's just stupid. I hate it when these formatting mistakes get made. Speaking of a lack of formatting mistakes, what we have here is Chew, all 3 Smorgasbord editions. I would say I love Chew. I read a little bit of Chew, and I think it's great. And then I just bought all 3 of these, and I haven't read them. And they've been on my to-read pile for a while. So, it's tale as old as time. Tale as old as time. All right, I'll just move along a little bit. So these are some oversized hardcovers of Invincible. Now, normally I'd put these in the shelf because they're not absolute size, but you'll notice here you've got the library editions 1 to 3, and they are huge. Yes, I'm aware that one of them is quite badly dinged, but I got it in a sale, and the comic itself is fine. And that's what slipcases are for, to take the damage at the end of the day. I mean, I don't mind having a dinged slipcase. So Invincible is great. I'm not going to do a review or anything of it here because other channels have done great jobs of that. But it's available as 12 oversized hardcovers, and then the first 6 of the oversized hardcovers, so the first half of the series, was actually released in this amazing deluxe absolute format called Library Editions. Volume 1 contains oversized hardcovers 1 and 2. Volume 2 contains oversized hardcovers 3 and 4. And Volume 3 contains oversized hardcovers 5 and 6. I've read all the library editions, but I haven't read the hardcovers. I've no doubt I'm going to enjoy them because the 3 library editions were some of the best comics I've ever read. I thought they were fantastic. I'm looking forward to starting again from scratch one day and just reading all of this in one go. I'm not just going to start at 7 now because it's been quite a while since I read the first 3 library editions. But I'm going to read it all in one go, and then I have to make a judgment call as to what I do. I'd be interested in knowing your thoughts, guys. Would you leave it like this, or would you scrap the 3 library editions and just buy the original 6's oversized hardcover so it all matches? Or would you recommend I go through the incredibly laborious, time-consuming and agonising process of converting these last 6 oversized hardcovers into 3 library editions? I don't know. I'm going to wait until I read it and then make up my mind. Okay, and then finally, guys, the last part of this. Right, over here we have the Luna Brothers. This is Ultra, Girls, and then The Sword, which are all by the Luna Brothers. If you don't know who the Luna Brothers are, you should definitely check them out. They're great. And these are 3 of their series. They've also done Alex plus Ada, but that's only available as an oversized hardcover, which I do need to pick up. But it's not absolute size anyway. So that's these 3 here. Really glad I picked those up. Girls is actually a gift from some of my friends, so I really appreciated that because it was a whale even when they tracked it down for me. And then over here, we have Artifacts Volume 1 in a deluxe edition by Top Cow. Yeah, it's a slipcase. It's actually got a dust jacket cover over the comic itself. It's the first either 10 or 12 issues of Artifacts. I haven't read Artifacts as yet. I'm planning on doing a big Top Cow read-through over the next couple of months. Yeah, and that I think is one of only 2 Absolute Edition of Top Cow ever did. There was this, and then they did one for the Firstborn Broken Trinity mini event, or the Power of mini events, which I actually owned once. I picked it up really cheap on sale, read it, didn't really understand what was going on, and then sold it for a profit. And I thought I was really clever. And now I've realised that actually I want it for my collection. I'm going to have to track it down again, but now it's a whale, so it's going to cost me far, far more than I sold it for. So ultimately, I'm ruining the day, to be honest. And that's my last set of Absolutes. I do have one other one, which is the Irredeemable Definitive Edition, but that's currently with my binding guy because I'm actually hopefully getting the Irredeemable Volume 2 made, which when lockdown is eventually over and I can pick it up, I will show you guys in an overview video. But yeah, that's going to be my first custom Absolute from scratch, as opposed to what I did with Batman Incorporated or anything like that. So there we have it, guys. This was my Absolute collection. Huge number of gaps. As I've said, I can double up on these shelves as well. I can do all sorts. But that's because my collection wants to grow, really. Oh, and at the bottom, what I tend to do, I just stick my consoles. So I've got my boxes here for my, I think I've got my Xbox 360, my Wii U, PS2, my Wiimote, my Sega Saturn. Yeah, for some reason I prefer not to have comics in the bottom shelf if I can avoid it. I don't know why. There's no real reason for that. It's not this place gets dusty, no one comes in here. But yeah, that's just a me thing. Anyway, guys, this is my absolute section.
Phew, well, that is all of my absolutes.
You enjoyed that.
Hope you guys thought that
this
was
inspired
interesting.
you to get some more. You have any questions?
Please like,
any
comment,
comments,
subscribe.
Please
Let me know what you thought.
As
And feel
per
free to
usual.
tweet me at
Until next time, guys,
Thomas
stay
Judge.
classy.
As always, please support the channel by heading over to nogodsokings.com or Amazon and picking up my prose superhero novel, No Gods or Kings. And until next time, stay classy.